What's in here?
We're not expecting anyone. Hey, my man, what are you doing, bud?
What are you drinking there?
Casey's coffee.
Casey's coffee.
Every day.
What do you got in here?
Oh, nothing much. We'll see you later.
Oh,
No, come on in, bud.
Oh, look at that cup. Do I have to take my shoes off?
Let's get ready to leave.
Jeez. I didn't realize that was at John Force Racing, Chad. This is Hollywood. You just gonna drive this thing through the truck wash?
Yep.
Wow. People told me that I should come to your shop because it's amazing. The little kid that used to hang out with his grandpa George and his uncle Danny, if you had told him that this is what that little kid would grow up to facilitate, would you have believed it?
No, not really. Obviously, you have hopes and dreams of things like that as you start racing. And you know, when Danny was with Tony Stewart Racing, and you know, when it had the shop in Higginsville, I mean, obviously it's pretty special. And the main thing is this particular shop is not doesn't win us any races, but it's definitely nice to bring our corporate partners here.
Yep.
And I looked at it when I had this built in 2014. I looked at this as like, yes, it's going to house my race shop, but in long term, this could be a long-term investment for me to be able to rent out, so I have income when I'm in my 50s or my 60s. So it's serving the purpose today as my race car shop, but in 10 years it could be serve a different purpose to a different individual. But I just wanted to be able to have something later in life where I didn't have to just depend upon where I finished on Saturday night. So just kind of wanted to build something nice in kind of an industrial area that we could use for multiple uses.
So how many cars have you got here? How many cars do you keep in rotation?
We'll keep, you know, what we have there's 4 cars there that we'll keep in rotation. And a lot of times we'll build these to start the year, but we won't actually race them unless we need them.
Yep.
So far in 2023, we've only used 2 cars.
Okay.
Car we've used 95% of the time, and then we run a couple races with the car we won the 360 Nationals with, but in general, not too many. And then we have our show car. This is a car.
It's a show car. Yeah, right.
It's actually just been crashed. We fixed styrofoam engine. Got that engine pretty cool.
Why is this guy looking down, mate? This doesn't seem like you. He seems a little, you know,
touch me, you might fall over.
seems a little dejected.
Yeah. But like the styrofoam engine, like as you get things and accumulate things, the styrofoam engine.
Styrofoam engine?
Yeah, so it's real lightweight. So you
Okay.
know, but I got that from Lonnie Parsons.
Oh,
So,
wow. Yeah.
Lonnie,
Yeah.
you know, if it wasn't for Lonnie, I probably definitely wouldn't be here. There's been people along the way that have helped me get to where I'm at today. And I bought the engine and a show car trailer from Lonnie. But it's, Lonnie's obviously gone now.
Yeah.
But you think back of things that are still sitting here that are still a piece of
The legacy.
Yeah, 100%. So yeah, this is basically used for all of our partners. If Casey's has a grand opening or an open house, or FVP needs it, or we do have a specific Andy's frozen custard.
Yes, I noticed that.
Scheme.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, so there's just the wing to it next door here. But in general, yeah, they'll need it. They're growing big and big every single.
Yeah, I like your Instagram posts on that. Always makes me want to go and find a.
Yeah, I gave you a couple coupons.
Yes, I'm going there.
You might be able to find that. Here are just some older cars. These obviously you can see they've been crashed. You can see the tubes.
Oh yeah, yeah.
In here, it's broke out in the front, and they at this point are graveyard. They're done, but they mean nothing to anybody else. But there's some sort of meaning to me to them.
Yeah.
I still have the car I was on the pole to Knoxville Nationals. I still have the car I ran second 3 years in a row to Donnie. This one was our first 360 Nationals winner, but you can see I've crashed it since then, and the gusset's ripped out.
Yep.
This one, I don't sure on this one here, but you can see the body. This is the black car we ran.
Yeah.
Had a lot of bad luck, so.
I'd forgotten about that.
And we're here soon. I'm not sure exactly when, but here in the next probably couple of weeks, we're going to have the 2 or 3 of Danny's Knoxville Nationals winnings cars in here. He's moved all his stuff to Florida.
Yep.
He didn't have room for that stuff, and he didn't really know what to do. And I said, well, why don't you bring that stuff to my shop? My grandpa George is finishing restoring the very last one of them.
Oh, nice.
So, yeah, that'll be special to be able to have something that means so much to Danny. And my grandpa is the last one that touched them and worked on them, having those in my shop.
Oh, that's cool too.
Yeah, so that'll be good. I've kept pretty much all my helmets over the years. There's a few that's not up here.
Is there a favorite? You can only pick one. If you had to pick one, it's like, quick
favorite
tornado.
For me to grab.
Yeah.
I'm probably going towards the black one there, which is.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
So that's my grandpa George's first full helmet he's ever had. So the inside's rotted out, but all these other ones somewhat are replaceable. The ones that obviously have a lot of meaning to me also are, there's one of Danny's there, one of Steve Kinzer's, and one of Donnie Schott's. There's a Gary Wright one down there. There's a Ken Schrader.
Gary Wright.
Yeah.
From Hooks, Texas.
The one Steve Kinzer, that one there, he gave to me. I begged him and begged him and begged him for a helmet for a long time. And yeah, I'll get you one. And I thought to myself, I'm not getting one. You know, he's probably told 1,000 people.
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
But me and Steve just always had a really good bond of like, felt like he was almost like a, like an uncle to me also.
Yeah, like a mentor kind of thing.
Yeah, wrapped his arm around me a lot of times, and somebody I just like so grateful I got to race with him. And I won my first outlaw race at Charlotte, and it was exactly the same night that he quit racing Outlaws, World of Outlaws full time.
Oh, wow.
So I won the race. Obviously, we're on cloud 9, and we're leaving and walking through the pit area, and I remember it like it was yesterday, and he hollered, "Hey, get over here, I want to show you something." So he brings me in his trailer. He goes up in his helmet cabinet, and he said, "You remember that helmet I kept promising you?" And I said, "Yeah." He's like, "I want you to have my last one." So he goes up there and he grabs that thing, and I thought, "Oh my gosh!" So I won an outlaw race.
Yeah.
Steve Kinzer just gave me his helmet. I'm thinking, I got to stop at the nearest Casey's and get a lottery tickets, because I'm like, I've won the lottery. And yeah, so that was cool. Donnie Shots, that was a cool one to have. Like I said, a lot of these, we did this, me and my best friend Tim Gibson did this during COVID. They were at my house, they were in my office, they were everywhere, but there was really nowhere we could show. There's some awesome paint jobs. A lot of them are done by another one of my best friends, Clem's helmets out of Marshall, Missouri. So, but as you go down here, you'll see a lot of them that obviously have different meaning. As we go, Tony Bachhoven for my 50th Knoxville National, 50th Knoxville win, gave me that one.
Yeah, I remember him telling me he was doing this.
So that was cool.
Yeah. I remember him talking about that.
Obviously, I think Danny, I'm almost positive Danny, that was the one he wore when he went to Australia.
Yeah,
obviously
wow.
The red, white, and blue there, and the Gary Wright.
Why Gary Wright? I mean, he's awesome, the slow talking, fast racing Texan.
I've always been a guy I don't really want everybody's helmet.
Yeah.
But I do want the guys' helmets that I feel like that are the reason that I'm able to do what I'm able to do. And, to me, if I could, as time goes on and as people give helmets away, I'm less likely to get the helmets that I want.
Yeah.
But to me, if I could ever get obviously I have Steve, Danny, and Donnie. You know, I have Gary Wright. If I could get, you know, Steve Kent or a Sammy, Doug Wolfgang, Mark Kinzer, Dave Blaney. Those are the ones that,
Yeah.
to me, those are the icons of our sport. That,
Wolfie doesn't have anything anymore.
Ken Schrader helmet, that's a kind of a funny story. Ken Schrader's always been, you know, one of my racing heroes.
Yeah.
And I was on him when he moved. I don't normally give helmets away.
Yeah.
Or trade helmets. I've been asked by lots of guys, would you trade me? I'm like, I want to keep my helmets. But so with Schrader, he was moving from North Carolina back to St. Louis, and he was moving. I called him up one day. I said, hey, if you come across the helmet, I'd like to have a helmet. I'd like to have a helmet.
Yep.
Not I'd like to trade a helmet.
Yeah.
So we go to Peevely 6 months later. I go back from the driver's meeting and they're like, hey, Schrader put something up on the bench up there. So I go up on the bench and here's this Kodiak helmet. Like that's as cool as you're gonna get.
Yep.
Days of Thunder-esque.
Yep.
You know, that's the Exxon Superflow, and I mean that's as cool as you're gonna get. But what I didn't know is he come back by and he's like, hey, which one am I getting? So I'm like, well, you can't tell Ken Schrader no. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna get you one. So I come back and I found one that I thought was good for him to have.
Yep.
And we traded, but I just normally don't trade. But when Ken Schrader asked, where's my helmet? You gotta say yes.
Babe Ruth says, here's a bat. What do I get?
Ken Schrader, like, man, I don't know if you've ever met him, but there does not. If you look up cool in the dictionary, his picture is in color. So it's awesome. But yeah, we've been able to do a lot of them still. Obviously, we had Rowdy last year.
Yep.
That was a cool experience to do that with Kyle Busch and to have the, you know, race the NASCAR truck at Knoxville.
Have you got a memorabilia room or anything? You got any cool stuff?
Something there. A lot of this stuff is you look back, and I come here every single day to work.
Yep.
But I don't look at them and go through them like I did.
Yeah.
And they all, you know, the engine with Brownie and whatnot.
So I met Lonnie at 2000 in Topeka on the paperclip when Brooke was driving for him, and Troy Renfro was working on that deal. I'm pretty sure that was the KC6P.
How about this?
Well, look at you. Would you look at that?
So this is something pretty cool. A lot of people probably don't know, and I'm not saying this because of Wade's being here, but one thing they do when you make the Knoxville Nationals, they give you these.
Yep.
And they give it to you, and you think, oh man, that's cool. That's some moonshine. I don't know. I'll have to have a really wild and crazy day to crack this open. But if you go back here and you look on the back, there's a really cool label.
Yep.
And today was the first day I made the Knoxville Nationals through the B main.
Yeah.
So I wasn't able to get this. They normally give this to the drivers meeting on Saturday.
Yeah.
The top 16 locked in, they get this. Obviously, because I was in the B main, they didn't know who the other 4 was going to be. So I got this on Saturday when I went back to Knoxville for the final night, and I just got it out of my trailer this morning, and I just read through it, and just pretty cool that you're going to be able to have stuff like this.
Yeah.
The memory will be gone, but to be able to look back at this and read that in years to come, and I'm gonna be a grandpa here soon, so like maybe that's something that as we get down the road that you'll be able to say, hey, your grandpa did some cool things, you know, back in the day.
I went to Sheldon's shop a few weeks back, and he had both of his up on the shelf. I was like, wow, he kept them.
Yeah.
Like, you do keep that stuff, right?
Yeah, 100%. I think that's the thing is like,
Look at your partners up there.
and we do the same thing now with trophies. You know, we want to make sure when we win big events, they're all big events.
Yep.
But sometimes the events are bigger than others. The Memorials, the 360 Nationals, the Knoxville wins. But if we win one, we don't think it's as important as the next one as far as prestige or whatever, we will give that to a kid.
Yep.
And it's no disrespect to the race or whatever, but you get so many.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, what are we going to do with all these? But to me, you give them to a kid. I've given the kids that have been 5 years old.
Yep.
Now they're 18 years old, and they still remember that trophy. To me, it was just a trophy, but to me, to them, it was a memory. This is my office, and it's a little bit cluttered. It gets kind of revamped every winter time. A lot of cool stuff. You know, if we go around the room, we can start here. You can see this is.
Oh, yeah.
That's a Williams Grove. That's something very cool, Williams Grove. They give you a checkered flag when you win a race there. The truck the truck race, the hood from the truck, and obviously there's the truck that we ran there, but it wasn't damaged, so I was worried that they weren't going to give it to me. But I talked real nice to my crew chief, and he was able to give that. But yeah, another picture here that this is actually hand painted.
Oh, wow.
Of my grandpa George.
Oh, wow.
And you wouldn't think, gosh, that looks like a portrait, but it's actually a painting.
Really?
Yeah. So there, yeah, that stuff is pretty cool there.
That is so good.
But as you go around, I mean, a lot of this stuff, you know, you look at it, it's like you forget.
Yeah.
You forget all the cool stuff that you did over the years until you have a guy like you come by and you get to look at that stuff. But you have obviously our front row challenge, probably one of the coolest trophies in racing.
Yeah.
My buddy Clem at Clemson gave me, this is actually dirt from Knoxville with a Camping World. Gave me one with the truck center. Sorry, the truck race, an SRX race also. As you look here, this is probably doesn't mean a lot to most.
Just a wheel,
just
right?
Just a wheel half. But during Kyle Larson's biggest, probably the best dirt track season in history.
Domination.
Paul needed someplace to stay for a couple of days, so I opened up my shop, said, hey, here's the dually, drive what you need. When I got back, he had left this here. So, yeah, it's just a wheel half, and it just has 57 decal on there, but to me...
Not just a wheel half.
No, I feel like that something I'll never get rid of, and something that I know what that year was about. Or obviously my grandpa's uniforms.
Yeah.
Heather and my mom had those made for me.
Look at the goggles.
A few years back. It's been probably 10 years back now, but just real cool to have that. When I first started, when we got these, I was wearing henchman uniforms too. So the correlation of being able to go 40 years in time and have a company still be a part of racing was awesome. The henchman's still in business today, and Nancy, they do a great job. But
that wasn't AAA back then, I don't think, Brownie.
Not.
They didn't know that back
my
then.
first ever sponsor, Ditsfield Transfer, which is cool. Ron Ditsfield and his family have had this business forever. But yeah, that's my first ever sponsor. So to have them still in the car today. Like I said, I never raced when I was a kid, but I was always wanted to be a race car driver. So on career day at school at 8 or 9 years old, it's like there was a doctor, there was a nurse, there was a football player, and there was me. I'm not sure I wore a helmet all day long, but the helmet was with me. But yeah, my grandma Barbara had that made for me, and there was times that it'd be 100 degrees at the races, and I was wearing that. I mean, full blown sweat, just like the old days. Yeah, I mean, then up above is my grandpa George's first ever wing, which was unbelievable piece of history to be able to have. He just said to me one day, hey, you ain't gonna believe what I found in my basement. I said, well, what's that? He's like, I found my first ever wing. I said, well, what are you gonna do with this? He's like, I don't know. I said, well, I want it. So he brought it up and he obviously autographed it. My mom, Sandy, found this is from one of my first ever sprint cars. She found this at a garage sale one day. People were selling it, and she's like, oh, you know what that is? I'm like, yeah, I know what that is. That's off one of my first ever cars. And you just forget about stuff like that, or you just sell the car and you lose that. This is my grandma and Danny, and this is when he won his first Knoxville Nationals. That's not his first one. That'd probably be his second or third one because of the JD Byrider with Tony Stewart. But,
jeez, JD Byrider.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of stuff.
Another belt.
Yeah, another belt. Stuff from our outlaw wins. This is the cushion that Danny always said on a cushion. This is one of the cushions that he with one of his Knoxville Nationals wins. But yeah, stuff like that.
What's that cardboard thing on that?
Well, I'll talk about that in 1 second. I'll put that down here. These are when Danny won his IROC race and these are the gloves he had on that night when he won that IROC race at Texas Motor Speedway.
Jeez. You really collect this stuff, don't you?
I collect the things that I really want. A piece of cardboard here that doesn't mean much. No, we can't show all of it, but it's basically a when Danny worked for me, he worked for me for a year and a half, and we had a lot of conversations early in the morning, late at night about just. I got a lot more information out of Danny as he retired. He kind of got away from racing a little bit, and I think he gave me all the tricks to all the answers to the test at that point. But I just said, hey, like when you run the bottom at Knoxville, like where is your throttle position? Where is your brake position? All that stuff. And he started to talk, and I'm like, you know what? Just why don't you draw it for me? So we sat down one morning, and he just drew it out and said, okay, I'll be 100% at this point. I'd be 65% at this point. I'd be 60 at this point. And we talked, and next thing you know, it's like, oh, let's go. We got to go car wash or whatever we were doing that day. And it just got thrown over on the forklift. And a couple weeks ago, I seen that, and I thought, before that gets thrown away, I want to keep that because it's his handwriting is exactly, this is how he runs the bottom at Knoxville. And I thought that was cool. So just a piece of history.
Oh,
that's kind of really it. There's really a lot of these here are the biggest trophies in the room, and they're some of the biggest nights of my career, really. But there's some of, obviously, looking back now, you can call them some of the highlights, but they're also disappointments a little bit too, in each different way. Here's my Knoxville Nationals second place.
Look at them all. Yep.
3 years in a row, second to Donnie. So, I mean, and there's nothing to be ashamed of in those. I mean, obviously, as times went on, those are running second to Donnie has happened to a lot of people. Joey Saldana a lot, myself a lot. So, we'll look back at those as time goes on, and they each have a different story in my eyes of what happened that night or whatnot. But it's we look back, we've had a great career, and we've done a lot of cool stuff. And like I said, this is just a brief of the things that are very, very important to me.
I just love this, mate.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Look at that, like the gun show. Got the STP white shirt on, the buzz cut.
Yeah, and we kind of ran by this one too. This is another one too that has a lot of meaning. This is the Michael Ross Memorial Foundation race. It was at Sedalia, but Tony Ross, which is passed now, he owned American Compressed Steel and he owned MC Power.
Yep.
But Tony was one of the few, or one of the very first ones that believed in me back in the day. And he was always like, whatever we need to do to try to feel like you have the talent and the desire, Brian, but what can we do to help you? And he lost his son, Michael, at a very young age. And it was a foundation race for his kid, for Michael. And all those were very, very important. And as you lose people like Lonnie and and Tony, you'll remember them in different ways. Another one here, this is my and this is like, oh gosh, this is just a small trophy, but if you look at it, it's 2003 Knoxville 410 feature winner. That was my first ever Knoxville win.
No way.
Yeah, and after Lonnie passed away, one of his grandchildren brought this down and gave this to me one night because I didn't have it to my collection. So lots of generous people in this world that give you things that they probably shouldn't. A guy come by here a year ago and said, "Hey, I have your first ever sideboard off of your sprint car." And I thought, you ain't got the first ever sideboard. He's like, I said, let me see the picture. And he, sure enough, he had the exact one off my car. He was just hanging in his garage, and his thing was, I think you would appreciate it more than I would. And I said, what do you want for it? He's like, oh, how about a t-shirt?
Oh,
so like, man, like, you don't know what.
How about 5?
Yeah, and like stuff like that. You just don't know what it means to you until you get stuff like this. And we're just very, very fortunate, man. Like, I never dreamed of being able to drive race cars is one thing, but to be able to have a long career like we have and be able to collect as many cool stuff as we've been able to do, it's pretty special. And like Grandpa said, it's a good life.
You reap what you sow, Brian. Hey, I need some gas. Can we go to Casey's? And I really want to try some Andy's frozen custard. Is there one around here?
About 5 minutes. Let's go there.
Let's go. The truck's gone. We could have gone in that. Dang it! Look at that. My gosh, you could play volleyball in here.